After everything that has happened, after everything you've done, was it worth it, Rook?
Rook, can we talk?
Tao. Of course, what is it?
Rook, before all of this, most of my life was spent in a cage until you freed me. You gave me a new home, a new purpose. You gave me a life back. I'll forever be grateful for that.
I think it was fate that brought us together. You know, if our paths didn't cross at eye socket, things would probably be very different for all of us right now. You helped inspire me to see just how bad the slavers and their trade is.
Well, my point being, I'm tired of staying here and working the crops while you and the other Liberators are out fighting for a noble cause. I want to fight by your side, especially against the Slavers Guild. I want to learn how to fight like you do. Would you be willing to train me?
Oh, I didn't realize you felt this way. I thought you liked working the land and keeping things under control here while we're gone.
I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy it, but I know that I could do much more to help bring justice throughout the land like you're doing. I can sort of hold my own in a fight, but I'm still clumsy and weak.
Tao, you've become one of my closest friends through all of this. You were the first one I freed, and I'd hate if something were to happen to you out there, but it's not my decision to make. It's yours. If you want to train, I'll help you.
Thank you, Rook. I won't let you down.
But for now, let's just enjoy this time of peace. I promise we'll start soon, but please give me a little time first. Rook thought about the night after their celebration in his talk with Tao. It took longer than he expected, but he was ready to deliver on his promise. When Rook was out traveling on his own a while back, he purchased a gift for Tao, masterwork robotic limbs to replace his shoddy prosthetics, which he should have done a long time ago anyways. Tao never complained though, he was just grateful for what he had and always did his best work. Rook knew that he would become a strong warrior with that kind of resolve. Tao currently used 2 peg legs and a standard arm. Rook went to his storage and gathered the replacement limbs and asked Tao to meet with him in their food storage. Rook reminded Tao of their conversation and told him that his training would begin soon. But before they could get started, he would need to become faster on his feet. Tao looked a little puzzled at first until Rook showed him the new prosthetics. He helped him attach the new legs and arm. The connections were already in place, so changing them out was a fairly simple process. Joy sparked from Tao's eyes and he thanked him for such a wonderful gift. His new legs were exceptional, and he felt so much lighter on his new feet already. Rook simply smiled, and with a nod, he said more training will begin soon, and turned away to get back to work. Tao took a moment to collect himself and went back to work as well. He was incredibly fast with these robotic limbs. In fact, with this upgrade, he was significantly faster than anyone else in New Raleigh. With that done, they still had to finish the western wing of their hospital. They furnished that side with 5 skeleton repair beds and set up a few wall dividers to help segment out the space. Early the next morning, Rook assigned Tao to his first training session, building up his strength. He was given a large traveler's bag and was tasked to fill it with all the stone collected from their stone mine and continue working the crops. This kind of strength training was hard, but he could continue doing his normal work while getting stronger, since he was always on his feet. Ryan had become a master weapon and armor smith, and while everyone else was working on building up New Raleigh, he was forging new equipment of the finest quality. Everyone was due for new weapons, so they all met at the armory and began swapping out equipment. They were all ordered to carry a bear sword as their main weapon or sidearm. The bear sword was a formidable blade that was especially effective against humans. This would come in handy for what was to come. At this point, Tao was given another gift from Rook. He was ordered not to only equip himself with a bear sword, but also with the Meitu Hold Saber that they had in storage. This mighty blade gave an extra bonus to his defenses, so it would be great for Tao to use while he honed his skills. Now, everyone who wasn't part of the 7 Liberators was armed, so if there was an attack on their home, they'd be better prepared to defend themselves. They dispersed and went back to work. Their new buildings were lacking furniture and lighting. They would eventually get to all that, but for now, they needed light in their hospital and it would be finished and ready to use. Of course, with all these enhancements, they needed to increase their power supply. They continued to line their walls with wind turbines to ensure that they would have a surplus of electricity. Ryan was tasked with another project that was slightly different. He worked long into the day and night crafting a new outfit. Tao wouldn't be much of a fighter in the rags he was currently wearing, but he couldn't fit into heavy crab armor like the other men. A black leather outfit and drifter leather pants was a much better choice. Not only did it offer much better protection without any penalties to his combat, but it also looked pretty cool too. To top everything off, he was given an animal cloth shawl to cover his torso. It was only a few days since Rook started helping Tao, but he already felt much stronger and more confident with his progression. He knew there was still a long way to go before he could call himself a true Liberator, but he was certainly starting to look the part. They continued working around the base until suddenly, a Shek challenge arrived at their gate. Ever since Rook captured the Holy Lord Phoenix, the Krals Chosen saw the Liberators as a target. They were a jealous and warlike faction of the Shek that sought to prove their worth by defeating Rook, who was considered an honored warrior by the majority of the Shek. Rook couldn't reason with them, so he had everyone gather in the center of New Raleigh. If it's a fight they want, it's a fight they'll get, he thought to himself as the western gate slowly creaked open. But for some reason, they wouldn't enter. Rook told the men to prepare themselves and he charged forward on his own. He approached the Shek, and as they drew their blades, he turned and booked it back into their base. They stormed in after him and they were met with the rest of Rook's men. They clashed into one another and the fighting broke out. The sounds of screams were accompanied by dirt and blood all around Rook's men. The Krals Chosen doubled Rook's numbers, but there were no match against the Liberators. Some of Rook's men were knocked unconscious during the battle, but most of them still stood while the Shek continued dropping rapidly while their severed limbs flew through the air. As their numbers continued to dwindle, a group of settlers joined the fighting to help finish them off. In almost no time, the fight was over. The Shek challenge was defeated. The ones that could get back up grabbed their wounded and limped away. Rook chased the rest of them out of New Raleigh. Of course, it wasn't a flawless victory. Not all of them were trained fighters in heavy armor like the 7 Liberators. The wounded were brought to their hospital to first tend any wounds in the skeleton repair bed, and then they rested in the advanced medical beds until their wounds healed. It was a bloody mess on their main road. They would have to clean it up soon, or the skin spiders would start knocking at their gates again. Rook asked Ryan to make another dark leather outfit for him. New Raleigh was scaling up and keeping up with their growth. Now was the time to start recruiting more Liberators. The issue is that Rook stood out wearing his iconic dust coat and hat. He surely made enemies after what happened with the Holy Nation, and he wanted to try and keep a low profile while he was out and about. Changing into something like black leather armor wouldn't only provide better coverage than his current outfit, but not restrict him like the heavy armor does. Plus it looked so good on Tao, he thought it'd look cool on him too. Another dust leather shawl was waiting for him. He wanted to blend in like a common drifter passing by, and this would help sell his disguise. He placed his trusty dust coat into the armor storage and equipped blackened leather chainmail to help protect him. Finally, he removed his ashland hat and replaced it with a straw hat, and filled his bag with extra bear swords, which sold at a large profit. He wanted to make sure he had plenty of cats on him. He'd need them for what he planned on doing next. His first stop was their nearby way station. He marked it on his map and set off by himself. Rook felt strange traveling alone without his iconic outfit, but this new gear kept him at a low profile and provided much better protection. He ran at a steady pace, eager to begin his new mission. He arrived at the way station in no time. Rook immediately found the trader and spoke with him. He sold as many of his goods that he could, but the trader didn't have enough cats to purchase all of his merchandise. Fortunately, the nearby bar would also buy from Rook. He went over and spoke to the barkeeper, who had enough cats to buy the rest of his inventory. Rook forgot to pack food for his trip, so he picked up a couple of food cubes and a medical sleeping bag, just in case. After the transaction was complete, Rook looked around the common area. Mostly mercenaries and tech hunters were hanging out, drinking grog, but then he saw someone that stood out. A hungry, lone drifter. Just the kind of person Rook was looking for. He spoke with her briefly, and she confirmed that she was looking to skip town and would join Rook for 3,000 cats. Rook gladly took her up on this offer. Her name was Riven, and she got up as Rook welcomed her to the team, and she ate one of his food cubes. She was definitely eager to move on, and nobody else was looking to join them at the way station, so Rook told her the plan. He'll follow her, and they'll go to Squin next. This was the first of many cities they would visit to find any recruits willing to join the Liberators. Excitement was in the air as Rook was getting to know Riven while they walked. Hopefully, the first of many new faces that he'd welcome to their team. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. I also want to thank all my wonderful patrons who are generously supporting the channel. I couldn't do this without you, and I'm very grateful. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good one.